Welcome back to Steer Wrestling 101. It's been a while since we've been on, and we understand that. I'll just blame that all on Rob Pierce, our producer, and yeah, he's standing there smiling. So anyhow, but I promise we've got a lot of stuff that we intend on putting on the air, and we have stockpiled a ton of information for you guys, and we look forward to bringing that to you, and we'll be bringing that to you in the next little bit. We're getting ready for our Thanksgiving school, which we're really excited about. This is a busy time of year for us. We're very excited about this time of year because right about Thanksgiving is when we are preparing our pro guys for the national finals. We've got our college guys and our 19 and under going to the junior national finals in Vegas. They're kind of wrapping up the end of their college semester, and then we've got our high school kids that are wrapping up their first run, their first season. And so we're looking forward to how that all ends up, and then of course they'll start back in the spring again. So we'll be busy right up to the spring and the start of rodeo season. So we've got some stuff that we want to bring to you. We've got some really good runs that Rob's put together for us to kind of look at and to kind of voice over, and we think they're really going to be really helpful to you as far as getting your finish right and some of the things that we work on here at 101. And hopefully you'll get something out of this. Okay, I've got Josh Clark here, and as we said, we're going to show you some runs, and we have shown you in the fast motion how these runs went. They looked really good. I mean, from the naked eye. I mean, just watching the runs. Wouldn't you agree with that, Josh?
Yeah, from the fast motion, they do look like really good runs.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of break these things down, because here's what Josh does, and here's what I try to do, and we're training the eye as much as anything. Wouldn't you agree with this?
Yes, I would.
So we're training the eye, and what we're trying to do is, and this is where these guys are going. I mean, just to be honest with you, they're going to where 1/10 of a second or 2/10 of a second. I mean, how much money does that mean for you, Josh?
Oh, that can be thousands of dollars.
I mean, it can be 5,000, 10,000. It can be a world championship. I mean, I've seen that break. It come down to a world championship. So anytime that we break these things down, we're not saying that these aren't excellent runs. And I just want you to understand that from you guys looking on. But what we are saying with this is, how can we be more efficient? And we've got some excellent bulldoggers here. I mean, Wag's in the deal, and Cash Rob and Rowdy Parent, and these guys are excellent bulldoggers. So, and they would agree. I think they'd agree if they were sitting here with us. Where can we break this thing down and be more efficient? And so that's what we're kind of doing. And we're going to pick on them a little bit. Yep. So and they don't mind that, because I mean they know how I am. Right. So we pick on everybody. So let's slow-mo this down, and let's take this first run, and let's see what we got. Now, this is Cash Rob from Utah, and Cash is, he's a beast. I mean, he really is. He's really getting his stuff together. If you look at, we're going to run this back and just slow and kind of run it back a little bit right here. I love the way he goes after those cattle. Wouldn't you agree with that, Josh? I mean, when he goes after them, he goes after them, and that's one of the things that we try to teach these young guys is, hey, look, you can't be bashful right here. He takes a steer. He's got a good head catch on him. He's tight. Now, the thing about that is, when you watch this run and you're kind of watching it back, watch where the steer actually hits. We're going to stop this in several places. Now, let's go down a little bit. Let's go right here. Throws his feet real well, gets on his feet, stop right there. We'll get right here, and the first thing I saw when I backed it up was, what did you see? Heel first or toe first?
He's a little bit hits on his heels first, getting his feet into the ground.
Yeah,
and then he turns his hips, way over rotates his hips, and that's going to make that steer hit past 180, as you could probably seen in the. And
even right here where we got this thing stopped right now, if you look at his right arm, and this may not mean much to the naked eye, but I'm telling you right now, we don't see the palm of his hand. We don't see him lifting with that right horn. So as you see this cow coming around, he's flat. His head's flat right there. So this right now, he's kind of got the advantage. The steer's got the advantage. Now, granted, the steer's coming over him like we want to see. He's coming over his back. He's coming over him. If you'll look at the focus of this kid's eyes right here, where is he looking at?
He's looking down at the ground.
And he's looking down the nose of that steer. Now, he's not going to the nose yet, so in our world, he should still be taking that steer down a pin a little bit. Okay, so let's take it just a couple of notches further, Rob, right there. Now, I always talk about, we talk about, how many times we talk about the nose coming back into you.
Right.
And that nose absolutely came back into him, which is a great thing. But look how deep, look at how much body he has under him at this point.
Yeah.
And where would you rather be there, Josh?
I'd rather be up over the top. I'd have that steer's head kept lower to the ground where I'm up. It's easier to stay up over him, where I can go get his nose with my left shoulder and ear, taking my left shoulder and ear down there to get that nose all the way in my right elbow.
Yeah. And you said right elbow. Look where his hand is right there.
Right.
So he's lost a little power. This is a real strong kid. I mean, Cash is a really strong individual. He can make steers hit when a lot of guys can't. Now let's take it a little bit further. Okay, now right there. All right, so we want to throw steers off our right leg.
Correct.
Okay, so you see where is he on his right leg right there?
He's off his right leg.
Yeah, he's on his left leg right there, and he's falling back. So, I mean, he's got enough power. He can go on and throw this steer and watch what happens. But I want you to see where this steer ends up hitting. Let's go forward just a little bit more. All right, now, where the steer would have been parallel with those other steers at the end of the pen, if you're looking at the other steers, the steer's hips should have been toward those steers. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I mean, because what's happened is now the trickling effect we talk about, and we talk about it all the time. They say we slide steers too far. Well, I'm going to tell you, if you're taking cows and that steer's hips are coming all the way around here before they hit, that takes a lot of time. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And so what we want to do is that steer is to hit out toward those other steers that you see in the background. That's the optimum. Now, would this win a lot of rodeos?
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, I mean, and where he's going right now, that wins lots of rodeos.
Yes.
But at a pro rodeo, how much money would that cost you?
That could be the difference between first and fifth, winning nothing.
Yeah. So
right
exactly, and where this kid wants to go, where this kid Cash wants to go.
Yeah, I know.
This is not exactly where we want to throw these steers. So not picking on him. I mean, great kid, great. I mean, he threw the steer down, and 99% of the people standing in the sideline would say, great run, clap their hands, pump him up, which we want to keep positive about it. Mm-hmm. But there's just so many little things about that run we can pick over.
Right, and I think if we could back it up even farther, I think we can probably pick out some of how this started. Go ahead and stop and come forward, right? Stop
His
right
left
there.
elbow.
His left elbow's back behind him.
Yeah.
Instead of being out in front of him, mashing that horn down, and he doesn't have that horn put away in tight to his body, letting his body go through those horns like we talk about. And 99 times out of 100, when your left elbow comes back like that, it's going to make your body want to pull and turn those hips every time.
Yes. And another thing is, if you'll go forward just a little bit more, Rob, a little bit further than that, right there. All right, I'm constantly on these guys about dropping that shoulder down, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, instead of pinching his shoulders over that steer and going through the horns, he dropped that left shoulder down, and so now he's behind the horns right there.
Yep.
Okay? Now, if he's pinched those shoulders and he's up over that steer's head, that doesn't happen. Okay, so you're right. How he started that run is how he had to finish it. Now, he did a great job of finishing the steer.
Yes.
He did a great job of just continuing this run. And I want you guys to understand at home that are watching this, always do that. Everything's not going to be perfect in a run. He went on through the steer. Would have won a lot of rodeos. Would have won a lot of high school. This kid's 14 years old here, Josh.
Right, I know. And one thing I would
when did this happen?
Looking at his face right now, a real positive thing I would say, if you look at his mouth, I would say that he is breathing through his run. His face doesn't look like he's just grit teeth, muscled up, muscle bound, but it does look like he is breathing through his run.
Yes.
And that's really what probably allows him to go ahead and finish this run as good as he does.
Exactly. Okay, let's go to the next run. Okay, this is Gavin Swallow, and as far as mechanics, I'll tell you, Gavin has proven himself time and time again to be just so consistent in his runs. And this is a great example of that, I think. It's just a great example of a guy that stays over his cattle, stays ahead of the horns. He's a little more upright than what we preach a lot of times.
Right.
Would you agree with that? I mean, right here, he's kind of, you can see right here, he's kind of burning that left horn just a little bit.
Yeah, he's letting that left horn float out in front of him a little bit.
Yeah. And that's, when you're trying to cut your slide down, a lot of times that'll take and put more slide into your cattle. But here's the thing, right there, when he put that horn away, you can back up just a little bit, Rob, right, little bit more. Back up just a little bit more right there. Now watch when that left horn goes into his pocket, what happens. Right there, and then the steer comes over.
Yeah, and that nose really comes back to it.
And oh my goodness, that's exactly what we're trying to get from for the nose. What we say is, I preach to these guys all the time, let your cattle work. Mm-hmm. Let your cow work for you. And there's not a kid on the planet that lets his cattle work any better than Gavin Swallow.
No, he did. He really did a great job right there of having some patience and letting that cow work for him while he was working to get that horn where he needed to be.
So let's go a little bit further and watch where that nose goes. Now what? You back it up just a little bit right there, Rob. Now look where, this is what we're talking about, core. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with this? I mean, the core is everything. Now, his left shoulder is going to that nose. Correct. We preach that so many times to these kids, to let the left shoulder go to the nose, not the arm. So his left shoulder is all the way to the nose at that point. And you see that. And now all he's got to do, this steer's thrown right here. I mean, he's already thrown. His footwork's great. He's got lots of place for the steer to go. Yeah. Everything's on his right foot. He's almost off the ground right here with his left foot, which is great. Now the steer's nose is coming right to him. Let's take it a little bit further. Now right there. Now that's even further. Now see where he goes with the nose. He's supposed to pull out. He's pulling out away from the nose. Watch where the steer hits right here. Boom. This is a great example. I think it's one of the best runs that we saw on this thing.
Yeah, it was a really phenomenal, solid run from
yeah.
Gavin. A lot of patience and feel, staying on his right foot. They're great finish.
I mean, this is a high school kid, and that's a pro caliber run on a, and that's and he's a nice steer. I mean, we got to give the steer the props too. He was a nice steer, but I mean, it really wouldn't matter what kind of steer that was. If he puts that kind of run on him, it's going to make a good run. And I do like the way he finishes. A lot of these young kids, they let these steers go too quick, and he finishes and he holds that steer in there. And in fact, he goes ahead and finishes the run. You see where the steer is right there. So, good run, I think. Okay, right here we've got Wag. He's got a steer that's pretty strong right here. You can see how he's taking him down the pen. But when you go back, and we're going to go back in slow mode this and kind of get it from step one to step two. The first thing you've got to notice here is watch where he reaches with this, and you can see this right here. This is a great place to stop this. Let's go back to where you were, Rob. Now watch when he reaches with that right toe, he's getting on his right foot.
Right.
Wag is the absolute best in the business as far as staying on his right foot, okay? And he never gets off of it. Every once in a while you see his left foot do some freaky stuff, but as far as his right leg, it's always going to be the same. And I want you to also notice and we talk about this a lot. Look at the angle in that leg. You see the angle in that knee? We talk about angles, and this is a big thing for me is taking the pressure off of those knees. And you see how he's sliding that steer right with the right angle in that leg. Now he'll stay on it, stay on it, stay on it. Now right there, when that steer comes over, he's still on his right. Now that nose is coming right where we want it. Again, it's coming right into him. Now the patience is, go back one more step. Go back right there. The patience is to wait until the steer does that. Would you agree with that, Josh?
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. A lot of patience there, and if you look at Wag's eyes, you'll see that they're down the pin the whole time. Even right there, as this steer is starting to come over him, he's still keeping his eyes down the pin.
Yes.
Keeping things moving forward.
Yes, and what Josh is referring to is going through the horns.
Yes.
I mean, he's actually going through the steer instead of getting behind the horns. And there's so many guys that tuck that chin behind those horns, and they seem, and at this point, if you, and this is what I preach all the time, Josh, and look at from his right toe to the tip of that steer's tail, that's the feel.
Right.
That's the feel. Now watch what happens when that steer comes over him. He stays right there on his right toe. Now see, he never got off that, and he's throwing his steer. Now, right here, if I was going to critique this at all, he's a little bit loose right there.
Right.
Okay. So he went back just a little bit. Now, that may be the steer's just got lots of action, whatever, but there's a feel right there that he's got, that he's way up over that steer. He can do with that steer. He's already thrown at this point. The steer's thrown. So look at the front end of that steer. He's coming over him. And, everybody talks about pulling those steers over you. That's not what he did. Right. His hips, if you go back, we're going to go back one more time. No, right there. His hips are what's the driving force of making that steer come over him. And then we talk about moving those hips back in your stance, and that's exactly what he's doing. Let it go forward now, Rob, and let's just watch what that steer does. He's thrown before he ever, and let's look at that right there. Go back just a little bit, go back a little bit more. The finish, and there's been a lot of people wonder why Wag can finish steers as hard as he does. Now, go a little bit further, go a little bit further, go a little bit further. Keep going, Rob. All right, the other way, and let's go a little bit right there. Now, watch him when he takes and he throws this steer. Watch him bridge his back. You see how he bridges that back? His hips are off the ground.
Right.
Most guys are laying on their back.
Yeah.
Now, when he takes a steer out and he pulls, he's off the ground, and he'll give up his feet at that point. That's awesome, and that's a good picture of that, Rob. I love what you did with that. Okay.
This is Rowdy Parent. Makes a really good run on this steer, and if you'll back it up, it's a great steer, but it's an even better run. If you'll back it up, and let's go right there. Okay, let's start going forward and pause it right there and see where he's just getting hooked up with those horns. His body, as we move forward, his body's still going to go through him, but if you'll watch where his hips are right here, and then move forward, stop. Back it up just a little bit, Rob. Right there. Okay, and see now how much lower to the ground his hips are and how much he took that steer's head down even more. And this is a good steer. But
he's only good because,
he's only good because Rowdy is making the same run on this one as he does the strong ones.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And the other thing to really point out in this, a couple of things. One is his left elbow is out in front of that steer's left horn, keeping it trapped down there. But everything's on his right leg, and because he's got everything and he's in such good balance driving through that right leg, he's able to take this really good steer's head just as low as he does with the strong steers. And this is a steer that a lot of guys are 4-1, 4-2 on, and Rowdy's 4-flat, 3-9.
Now. And one thing that I've also noticed here is, and we talk about this, keeping your shoulders level.
Yep.
And in that pinch position, I think now he's taking that steer and he is controlling everything about that. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I see.
Let's go a little bit further. Now, right there, back it up just a hair. Right there, this steer's thrown at that point. Now he's coming right back into him. Look at the right arm. We always talk about bulldogging with two arms.
Mm-hmm. He's maintaining his pinch.
Oh,
you can
yeah.
still see that both them shoulders are trying to pinch together. He's not opening up in his shoulders, pulling with the right arm. He still has that same lift and same pinch in his shoulders as he's going for the nose, that left shoulders. You can kind of see that it's trying to drive, stay pinched and drive down towards that nose.
Toward it, yeah. I like that about that run. Now watch, you can even go forward just a little bit more. Now right there, he's got, this steer is had. He's done. And as you said, he's a really good steer. But look, there's a lot of good 3-second steers at rodeos that are wasted.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of good cattle that's the hardest ones to throw sometime, I'd say.
Yeah, sometimes they are. And really cool freeze frame right here. You can see that this steer is already thrown and Rowdy's still trying to get his nose or his ear to the steer's nose.
Ear to the nose.
He's just...
now go one more step. Let's just keep going right here. This is just some cool video right here, Rob. Look at that. This is a great shot right here. I mean, could we, as bulldoggers, do we pray for something like this or what,
that's
Josh?
The stuff dreams are made
I
of.
mean, this is the stuff that we just love. And, I mean, there wasn't a person there that's watching this run that just didn't hoop and holler. So, I mean, good stuff. But it's all based on from waist down and core strength, and it's all based on that. So let's just run that thing back all the way through. Let y'all have fun with that one more time. Appreciate Rowdy for doing that. You know, I hope all this information that we gave you was good and helpful for you. You know, a lot of times it's just easier to visualize things if you got some kind of run that you can visualize. I know I tell my guys all the time, hey, pick out the best runs that you made and visualize those runs. That helps you, that'll help you more than anything. And also always, don't pick on yourself too much. Always take your good things that you're doing, take the things that are positive about your runs and feed off of that. At least pick out 3 things that you like about that run before you start looking at the things that you want to change in that run. That way you're always going to be building on something that you've already done correctly. I like the fact that Rob's bringing us some slow motion videos. We're going to be doing more of that in the future, and hopefully these slow motion videos let you see just how we break this down, because it's very that's what my pro guys want to do, because we're dealing in tenths of seconds, and anything we can do to shorten those runs and maybe shorten the slide or anything that we can do to help you guys, that's what we intend to do. So stay tuned with us. We're going to be bringing you a lot of stuff in the future.